We're going to go ahead and take a look at number 87 from section 2.1, which deals with the rectangular coordinate system. Number 87 is kind of a tricky problem that encourages you to work with the midpoint formula. So as a refresher, the midpoint formula, and we'll just use capital M to denote the midpoint, that's going to be the average of two of your x values, so from two different coordinate points, as well as the average of the two y values. Okay, so note that I'm saying it's an average because I'm going to take two numbers and then I'm going to divide it by 2. So it's a really, well, it's probably one of the smallest, most basic ways that you can take the average is between two numbers. So usually what you're given is you are given a point P and a point Q, and that will give you your midpoint. Okay, so in this case, point P we are told is 1, 4. Q, I really don't know anything, so remember at this point, if you don't know what the values are for this mystery number, go ahead and just put variables in its place and see if that will at least hold the place and allow you to solve for it. And point M, or midpoint, is 3, 5. Now, what I'm going to kind of do is encourage you to focus on the answer that they gave you in the problem and the midpoint formula. I can actually start plugging values in. I know that, and I'm going to highlight this in blue, that say point P is going to have my x1 and my y1. So I can plug 1 in for x1 and I can plug 4 in for y1. Well, what is that going to do for me? Well, then I can go ahead and rewrite this. I can say m is equal to 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2. And this is also going to be 4 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. You might say, okay, well that's great, but what does that tell me? Well, we also know that m is equal to the point 3, 5. So really what this problem is doing is it's giving you two problems in one. So I know that this first position, the x position, should calculate to become 3. And I know that the second position, my y value, should calculate out to be 5. So the first one that we'll take a look at, so we have 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2 will be equal to 3. Well, note that if I make that 3 look like a rational number, I can use some cross multiplication to allow me to simplify this out. So this is going to give me 1 times 1 plus x sub 2, which is kind of unnecessary, is equal to 6. So I'm just going to simplify that out. 1 times anything will be that anything. Subtract 1 from both sides, and we find that x sub 2 should be 5. And then if we look at the y position, we can kind of go ahead and do the same thing. Do our cross multiplication, so we get 4 plus y sub 2 is equal to 10. Subtract 4 from both sides, and we find that y sub 2 is equal to 6. And there you have it then. Your final solution will be 5, 6. That is the missing point. So if you wanted to go back and check, if you took the midpoint between P and Q, it should calculate to become this 0.35. That should be the point that's in the middle. One thing that I would encourage you to do, if you're not quite 100% sure if you calculated everything correctly, you can go ahead and visually check. So pardon the sloppy coordinate point. If we were to put 0.14 in there, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's point P. Point Q we said was 5, 6. And then we said that point M would be 3, 5. So go ahead and take a look at that. Does it look like, and this is just a visual check, so there's really no guarantee that your answer is correct, but you can check to at least see if your answer or your solution is on the right track. Does it look like point M is between a exactly between P and Q. If it does, then you're probably on the right track. Again, you can use this visual check, or you could go back and actually use the algebra. That would be a better guarantee if you go back and do the calculations and make sure that you still get that midpoint value out. And there you go.